Following Faraz telling every single player, including Rachel, that he thinks Rachel is a traitor, the traitors had a big decision to make. Would they take a chance like they did with Jesse and murder Faraz, or would they go with the safer option and pick Roxy? They didn't take the chance and chose to murder Roxy. I wasn't sure about this decision for two reasons. They wanted to implicate James, but I didn't think this plan would work as easily as they would hope. Roxy was a guaranteed vote for James and someone that was more likely to help the traitors to victory. I think they should have taken the chance to murder Faraz because there would be heat on Rachel either way. If he was gone, there would be one less vote for Rachel. As I said in my video about the previous episode, Faraz going around telling everyone was her defense because Rachel could say that Faraz gave the traitors the perfect ammunition to frame Rachel. At least that's how I would have played it. As Claudia came in, the only announcement I was expecting from her was about the mission and the round table being the last one where the banished player can reveal their role. We got the mission clue, but I was surprised that the other thing Claudia mentioned was telling the surviving players that Judy is Roxy's mum. Seeing as that was the last pre-existing relationship now out in the open, can we put this to bed now for season 5? If you're not going to do all of them knowing someone, then don't do it anymore. It's no longer a twist, it's just a tired play that needs to take a break. For me, it's lost any excitement. The only excitement I had for it was thinking they all had some connection to someone. There's only been 2 instances where the reveal has been good. The season 1 reveal at the breakfast table with Tom and Alex, and Diane to camera about Ross in season 2. The fans finding out about Ellie and Ross this season didn't spoil it for me. I'm just fatigued by the whole thing. Getting back to the rest of this episode, following on from Rachel's badly worded sentence to Stephen in the turret, Stephen went round in nearly every conversation bringing up Rachel's name. Rachel hadn't even started talking about Stephen. Stephen looked like he was pushing it a bit too much. I was very confident that the only traitor to write every single traitor's name down, wait, let me add this too, the only remaining player to write both banished traitors' name was going to do it again. Matthew mentioned this once about Stephen, and yet no one has thought about this. We're in that awkward stage because there's so few of them left. Players are bound to walk into a room when others are talking about them. If you've already told them to their face you think they're a traitor, why are you going quiet when they walk in? For the penultimate mission, the players had to climb up a hill. On the way, there were shrines dedicated to the fallen faithful. They could pay their respects, but the main aim was to retrieve gold rocks. They had 45 minutes to complete the mission by reaching the top of the hill and having enough gold rocks to fill the shield with. If they fully filled the shield and they were all back in time, £10,000 would be added to the prize pot. The added bonus was that by completing the mission, they would stop the traitors committing their final murder. Despite the challenges of having to go back and forth to the last stop they could collect gold and James throwing up, they completed the mission with seconds to spare. I will admit, there was part of me that was disappointed they actually did it. I wanted to see who the last murdered faithful would be and how it would set things up for the final. I feel like it's not the only thing I'll be disappointed by the end of the last episode. Sometimes I feel like I'm being harsh and other times I think I'm not hard enough. I'm gonna say this as kindly as possible. Jack, you are not gonna win if you don't start paying attention. Jack says the only thing he can come up with in regards to Stephen is that he might be keeping him in. The library, the death row list, the only one who voted for 2 traitors, Jesse being murdered after bringing Stephen's name up. There's a whole list of why it could be Stephen. Why is he the one that you're least suspicious of? We knew this was the last time the banished player would reveal their role. This round table was going to be more pivotal than ever. The last chance for the faithful to tip the balance further in their favour. A step closer for the traitor or both to take home the money. There was just a little sticking point to both the traitors winning. The list of people saying Rachel's name was stacking up. Things didn't look good for Rachel, especially as she was the first one to be questioned, but she wasn't the only one under scrutiny. James was unsurprisingly questioned. Even Jack and and James voting the same way was brought up. Why this hasn't been made a bigger deal of, I do not know. Another thing mentioned was Jade switching her vote from Matthew to James in the previous roundtable. They weren't done with Rachel as it swung back to her because of Faraz. We even had Rachel questioning Stephen, then Stephen questioning Rachel. One thing was clear was that it was going to be a close vote. In a move that shocked absolutely no one, once again Jack and James voted the same way. We ended up with another tied vote in the season as James and Rachel got 3 votes each. This is when I thought Stephen is going to switch his vote in the revote. I had absolutely no confidence that Stephen would keep his word. There was a stark difference in the pleas from the two players. James spent his plea just saying why he thinks Rachel is a traitor, while Rachel spent her plea saying why she's a good faithful. I should have had more confidence in Stephen, as he didn't switch his vote. Jack did. Rachel's words had convinced him, but Jack wasn't the only one to change their vote. Jade switched her vote from James to Rachel. If Jade's recent switching of votes doesn't get her banished in the final, then I will be surprised. We had another instance of 2 players' fate left to chance, and there was your cliffhanger. I'm not a fan of a cliffhanger that leads into the final episode. I'm hoping it's not as disappointing as the cliffhanger of US Season 3. It happened at the same point and it meant the final episode was crammed, which ended up being a dud, but that's just my opinion. So I crunched the numbers and did the math. I didn't really, but I've come to a couple of conclusions. Rachel is fried, cooked, toasted, roasted and baked. I can't see her winning now. She's either banished by chance or she's the first one voted out in the final. If Rachel survives this, it will take a miracle for her to win. Miracles do occasionally happen, but I don't see it happening here. That's why my conclusions are that either Stephen wins or Faraz and Jack win together. With no row reveals after either James or Rachel are banished by chance, there might still be some doubt on Jade. Faraz voted for Jade in the previous episode, so I'd be surprised if he ended the game with her in it. Faraz and Jack have sailed through with very little to no suspicion on either of them. I will say this, if the Faithfuls do win, the editors and the Faithfuls themselves haven't given me a reason to want them to win and even cheer for them. Jade's perseverance to still be there despite being accused and voted for since the first roundtable has been some feat. Some of the Faithfuls seem to have main character syndrome, but for most of the season the edit was saying the opposite. Taking the line from the Hunger Games to the players, I say, may the odds ever be in your favour. Let's see who ends up victorious.